All right, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be one of the more powerful things that you can do with MySQL in general with relational databases. So what we're going to talk about today is joins. And what a join is it allows us to take information from one table and information from another table to find some way that those two bits of data are related and then join them together in a result set. The example we're going to look at today is, what if we had a website or something that had users logged in, and these users could purchase orders, so they would have orders, okay, or products or something like that. And what I want to do is be able to get back all of the users who have orders. I want to get back all the orders and then say who the user was that purchased that order. All these different types of things, we can do that with joins. And there's a few different types of joins that we're going to look at today. But joins are a little bit of, when you first start dealing with them, they're a little bit counterintuitive. They don't make a lot of sense. So hopefully we can look at enough examples and things to help these make sense. But basically all we're doing is we're going to take table or data from one or more tables. This is where the relational part of the database comes in, and we're going to combine those together with a join of some sort and then get that information back. So let me switch over to my screen here. And what we'll do, and by the way, please comment, like, and subscribe. 90% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. It would help me out greatly if you guys are watching, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. If you are subscribed, go ahead and like and comment. It will boost my videos in the suggestions, and more people will find these videos. Okay, so I want to make sure that my server is up and running. Opt lamp examp start, and put in my password. All right, so my server is up and running. So I'll go ahead and get to my command prompt for MySQL by typing in opt lamp then MySQL -u root. And now I'm here and I want to use the database we've been working on. So I could do a command called show databases, and you have to spell it correctly. So we've been working with this database here, this DB database. So go ahead and use that. So we could type in use DB, and now you can see that it's changed our database, and in our prompt here, we are working within that database. If I go ahead and type in show tables, right now we only have one users table, but what we want to be able to do is add another table so that we can demonstrate what these joins do. So let's go ahead now and let's create a table called products. So if you remember, we use create table, and then we'll say products, and then we'll open a parenthesis here, but we're not going to close it, and I'm going to skip down to the next line, and we'll start giving it the information that we need. So we can give it an ID with a type of int. We're going to say not null, and this is going to be an auto increment. Okay. The next, we'll go ahead and do a comma after that. The next thing that we're going to add in this, the way that we're going to relate these two together is these products will have a user ID. So we'll go ahead and give it a user ID. It will also be an int of not null. We'll do a comma there. And then what we'll do, we have ID, user ID, and then typically what we would do in this situation is you would have, another product ID, which would, you would have, let me think about how I want to do this. Because you typically we would have more than one table that we would join together. I think what I'm going to do is just make this a lot simpler, just for demonstration purposes, and we're just going to have products, and they're going to be related to a user. this isn't typically how we would do products. We would normally have another table that held all the information about a product, and then we'd have this table that would be like a related table or a reference table that would, when someone purchased that product, they would just enter a row. But instead, I think what we're going to do is just give this product a name, and this name will be a varchar, or variable character, and we'll just go ahead and do 255 for the size on that. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and also give it a price. And this price is going to be a decimal. And the decimal, let's just go ahead and make this 10, comma 2. I believe that's the syntax there. And then what we'll do, let's just go down and close our paren from where we opened it up here. Okay, this is the closing paren there. We'll hit semicolon, and I don't know if I have this syntax correct, but we'll hit enter. And I do have a syntax error, so let me look up what I did wrong there. MySQL. You know what? Let's look this up together instead of me just looking it up on my other screen. So I'm going to type in MySQL create table syntax, or you could do example or something like that. Let's check this one out here. And okay, I know what I did wrong. I did dash auto increment and it is underscore, so that is my bad. So let me go back here and we'll do underscore auto increment, and then we'll hit enter. There can only be one auto column that is defined as a key. Okay, let me try again here. And I think what I did wrong here is I did not, dang it. I'm gonna get rid of this semicolon. And oh, dang it. It's all messed up now. All right, I guess let's start over. Create table products. Sorry about this. And we'll skip down to another line. We'll say ID integer, not null, and then it is auto underscore increment. Okay, and then we gave it another column that we called user ID, which was also an int, not null, comma, and then we gave it a name, which was a variable character with a size of 255, and we gave it a price, which was a decimal, with a 10-2. I hope that's the right syntax there. I don't. The reason that I don't typically write my create tables like this, and I'm going to show you why later, but we're doing it the hard way. So you have to bear with me. I'm not. I should have practiced this before we started, so that's why I messed it up. But anyways, so we have our price, and now we need to tell it a primary key. So let me go back here and see, we skipped this part too, this primary key. So we just need to add that, and we're going to tell it that the primary key is going to be our ID column. Now I can close my closing parenthesis and my semicolon, and now if we do show tables, we have a products table and we have a users table. So let's go ahead now and describe our products table, make sure it looks correct. And now we do have the ID, user ID, name, and price. So let's go ahead and just put a couple in here, but first let's find out what IDs we have available to us. So let's select star from users. And what this is going to do, see, what we want to pay attention to here is the ID. So we have an ID for 1. I'm just going to use 1, 2, and 3, I think, just to keep it simple. But make sure you actually have a 1, 2, and 3 on yours. And then what we're going to do is we're going to insert some rows into our products table, and we're going to assign the user ID randomly to this 1, 2, and 3. And then what it's going to be is these products will be associated with this user. So let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to say insert into products, and then we'll define our schema here. So that we're going to tell it user ID, and those are backticks, remember, name, and price. And then we're going to say values. And then I'm going to skip down to the next line and we'll start putting in these. So user ID, let's just give Curtis 1, comma, name, he bought a tent, and the price of that was 125.34. There's no rhyme or reason for what I'm doing. I'm just entering some data. And then let's say Curtis also bought a tarp, and the price of the tarp was $24.99. Excuse me. All right, and then let's give another product here, and let's say Tony bought, so she was ID 2, so we'll give that user ID 2. Let's see, Tony bought water filter, and that was $19.99. And let's say Tony also bought, I don't know, matches, and that was $4.99. And then let's say Jules bought, so he was ID 3 here, so I gave it ID 3 here. So now Jules bought a, he also bought a tent, but his tent was a different price. It was $99.99. And we'll do one more. Jules bought a hammock. I don't know if hammock has 1 M or 2. It actually might have 2, but excuse my spelling if I got that wrong. All right, so now we've done that and we have all the values. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a semicolon. And now it says 6 rows affected. So if I select star from products, you can see now that we have information in our products table, and the user ID. Let me just explain something. We haven't really covered this yet, but this ID right here in this ID column, okay, I just panicked for a minute because I thought I may have forgotten to switch over to my screen, and we'd have to restart. But right here, this ID column, this is called the primary key. This is unique. Every row in this table has a unique primary key. This right here in the user ID section is what's called a foreign key, and we didn't set it up with foreign key constraints or anything yet, but this is a foreign key. And what this is, you can have as many as you want in here, but these are relational to, like in this case, to the primary key in the users table. So that is how we can relate when we do these joins. We're getting ready to start the joins, but we can relate this product with this user because this foreign key right here, this user ID, will match the primary key of the users table. So I hope that makes sense. We're storing the primary key as a foreign key in this table for the users. And that way we can join these two tables together and accurately know what user purchased these different products, okay? So let's go ahead now and show you an example of a join. But before I do, I'm going to show you a couple different examples of different joins that we can do here. So I'm just going to go over to w3schools.com, and they have a diagram here that I think is pretty useful for showing what information we can expect to get back. So first, let's look at the inner join. And an inner join, so it shows an example with 2 tables, and it's kind of like a Venn diagram if you've ever seen one of those. What happens is the first table here, this is called your left table, and table 2 is your right table. And what happens is you create a query that will get, with an inner join, you're going to get only the results back that match both tables. So if you have more users that don't have products, in our case, they're not going to show up. And if you have products that don't have users, they're not going to show up. Only the users with products will show up with an inner join. So let me show you what I mean by that. What we're going to do is let's decide if we want the users to be the left join or the products. So let's say our app, we want to see the users and whatever products that they have purchased, okay? So let's go ahead now and we're going to select from users. And if we select from users, the users table will be the left table. If we select from products, then the products will be the left table. So let's go ahead now and start building this out. It's select, we'll just say, for now we're going to say select users.star from users. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and enter to go down to the next line. So the first part of this is select users.star. Now these are our columns. So select users.star from users. Now we need to join these on. So what we're going to type in is we're going to type, we can just type join because the default join is inner join, or we can type inner join just like that. And we're going to tell it what table we want to join on. So we're going to inner join products. So that's our table. And then we have to tell it how we're going to relate those. So you use the keyword on, and the on, now we're going to tell it how those two relate to each other. So remember that we said that the user ID column is going to match up with the ID column here. So all we have to do is type products.user_ID is equal to users.id. So this right here defines that relationship between those two tables. So you tell it what table, you tell it what type of join you do, then you tell it what table you're joining, and then you use the keyword on, and then you define how those are joined together. So in this case, products.userid is equal to users.id. Now if I put a semicolon and hit enter here, we get 6 rows back. And I want to show you this because this is really important. And this is what's kind of counterintuitive. If we look at this, we see that our user Curtis came back twice. And his ID is on here twice, and the phone and everything is on here twice. Well, why is that? Well, if you look in this products table up here, there are 2 rows that have the user ID of 1. Now we didn't select any of our rows to come back from our products table, so we don't have that joined on here. So let me go ahead and show you that now. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to select, and then what we're going to say is users.star to get everything in our users table. And then let's get, we want to get all of our, well, we don't really care about the user ID because that's going to be here with this ID. So let's get our product ID. So we're going to say products.id as, and then I'm going to rename that. I haven't showed you this as yet, but this allows us to rename that. And the reason we have to do this is because if we would just return this as ID, well, the second table's ID is going to overwrite the first table's ID because there can only be one column in the result set with the same name. You're not going to have ID and then ID. And plus that wouldn't be useful because you wouldn't be able to distinguish which ID is which. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that the products ID, and this should be products.id as product ID here. It's going to take the ID from the products table and it's going to call that in the column name product ID, okay? So that's how that's called an alias. So we're gonna set up aliases for these products. So then what we're gonna do is, we don't have a name column, so we could just say products.name, and then the column would come back just as name. But since we have an F name and an L name, it might be a little confusing. So let's go ahead and give that an alias as well. And you don't have to do this one because it doesn't match a column name in the other table. But I'm just going to say as product underscore name. And then let's give it, we also want to get the price. And there is no price in the users table, so we can just say products dot price. All right, then I'm going to hit enter to go down to the next line, and we need to tell it what table we're getting this from. So we're going to get it from users, okay, and then we'll hit enter. And now we're going to tell it to do an inner join, and we're going to inner join our products table, and we have to define that relationship. So on products dot user underscore ID is equal to users.id, semicolon. Now if I hit enter here, we get a bigger result set back, or it's the same amount, but it's the same result set back here. And you can see that our product ID now came back as product ID. And then our product name came back in this column, and then our price is here. So what it's done is it has joined this right table's information onto the result set of here. So now if we were looping through, we're going to have multiple rows with Curtis Parham and Tony Parham. We're going to have one for each product that they bought. Okay, so that is how joins work in MySQL. And oops, my face is in the way. Sorry about that. So now you can see the full result set here. I'm just going to leave my face off for the rest of this because I'm assuming these tables, because we're joining, are going to extend out to where my face is in the screen. So you can see that we have our user information on the left here because we told it select users.star, and then we started adding the product ID as product ID, so we have that. And then we said products.name as product name, we have that. And we have products.price, and we didn't give it an alias, so it's just called price. So now we have one row for each one. Now notice, let me just do another select here. Because we did the inner join, if I select star from users, you can see that we didn't get back all of our users. In fact, we just got Curtis, Tony, and Jules back, and then Marcellus, Benjamin, Jane, and John, we didn't get those back because those guys haven't bought anything yet. So that's how an inner join works. And let me just pull up that, now that we've seen that, if you pull up this diagram, we did an inner join. So the table 1 was our left table. In our case, that was users. Table 2 was our products table, and it only got what matched with our query between the two, okay? Let me just show you one other thing here. What if we only wanted to get back result sets that purchased something over $90? Well, we could do that. Let me show you an example of that really quick. Select star from, oops, we can't just do that. So we need to select users dot star, comma, we'll do, in this case, we're just gonna, I'm gonna make it a little shorter. So we're gonna do products dot name as product name, comma, products dot price as, well, we don't need to do as price. So I'm gonna hit enter, and then what we'll do is we're gonna tell it inner join products, the table products, on users.id is equal to products.user_ID. Then I'll hit enter, and now what I can do is I can actually do a where clause, and I can say where products.price is greater than 90, semicolon, enter. And I have an error. So what did I do wrong here? Select users.star products name. Oops. Yep. I did not tell it the from table for some reason. So we tried to inner join this without telling it what table. So I'm going to go ahead and type in from users, and then we'll inner join. Oh, all kinds of syntax errors. Where products.price. There we go. So that's a little messy. I might just retype that so you can see, but you can see that there are only 2 products that were sold that were over $90. There was both these tents. So Curtis bought a tent for $125.34 and Jules bought a tent for $99.99. And then we got their information, like their phone number and email if it exists. So let me just retype that so it's a little easier to see. That was select users.star, comma, products dot name as product underscore name, comma, products dot price, and then we said from users, and then we inner join our products table on users.id is equal to products.user underscore ID, and then we gave it a where condition, and we said where products.price is greater than $90. That was the full statement. So select, and then we selected our columns. Notice the way that we select these is we have to tell it the table name first, and then a dot, and then the column name. So we have the products, that's the table, dot, and then the column was name. And then we gave it an alias by saying as, and we called it product name. Same thing here, we said the products table, dot, price, and then we said from users. So this became our left table. And then we said inner join products on, so this did an inner join on users.id, where that equals products.user.id. That defined the relationship. And then we said where products.price. So now we can do the table.column, and then we say where it's greater than 90. So that gives us this result right here. But let's show you another type of join. What if I wanted to get all my users back, regardless if they bought anything, but I also wanted to know if they did buy something? Well, that's where we have another join type. And if we look here, we have the left join. So the left join is we will select from users, and we can join on the products, but we're going to get the entire result set for the users table, and only the ones that match for the right table. Okay, so we're going to get everything on the left, and it's going to join anything that's with the right on. So instead of leaving out the users like the inner join, it's going to have all the users, even Marcellus, in my case, Marcellus and Ben, Jane, and John will all be in there, even though they haven't purchased a product. That is called a left join. So let's go ahead now and do an example of one of those. So we'll say select users.star, and from now, well, I guess we'll just keep doing it like this, and we'll do products.name. I'm not gonna do an alias just because I'm getting lazy. I don't want to type that much. So products.price, and then we're gonna say from users, and then instead of inner join, we're gonna do left join. We're still going to do the same syntax. We're going to add our table, and then we have to tell it how that relationship is defined. So it's users.id is equal to products.user underscore ID. Okay, and that's it. We're not going to do a where statement here. So then if I hit enter, you can see that we get back all of our users now. So we got multiple rows back for Curtis because he bought 2 things. We got multiple rows back for Tony because she bought 2 things. Jules also bought 2 things. But then we also got the rest of our results set back from our users table, even though they didn't buy anything. And if you look over here, those values are all null. And they're null because they didn't buy a products. So they won't have a product name or a price. So this type of join is useful if you want to get all of your users, even if they haven't purchased anything. And then you want to join on some sort of information like the products that they've purchased. Okay, that is a left join. Okay, so let's go back now and look at the diagram. So we've seen inner join and left join. Right join is the same as a left join, except for let's say we want to get back all of our products, even if they don't have a users. Now, we don't really have anything set up like that right now. So let's just let's look at the products table. Select star from products, and let's just add another product that doesn't have a user ID that matches. So I don't have a user with an ID of 6 anymore because we deleted that. So let's add a product for that. So let's insert into products, and we're going to say user underscore ID, comma, name, comma, price, and then we're going to say values, and we'll say user, the ID is going to be 6 because we don't have that user anymore. And then the name will be, let's say they bought, let's see, what did they buy? They bought a food bag, and that was $9.99. All right, so now we've added that row to the table. So if I select star from products, let's go ahead now and see that. So here is that, and this has a user ID of 6. And if you remember, I don't have a user ID of 6 because I deleted that user. So this, we can use this now to demonstrate what a right join would be. And we're going to continue to use users as our left table and our products as our right table. So now let's say I want to get back all of my products, even if they don't have a user. Then we were going to use the right join. So again, we're going to say select users dot star. So get everything back from the users table. And then we're going to say products dot name, comma, products dot price. Go down to the next line, and we're going to say from users, and then we'll do our right join, and we're going to join on the products table, and we're joining that where our on users.id is equal to products.user underscore ID. We'll hit enter, and I have an unknown column, and that's because I forgot my S again on product.user.id. Sorry about that. So now you can see that we're getting back all of the right table. We didn't get back all of our users because they didn't have products. However, we're getting back all of our products even if the user, so this bottom one here, if you look at this bottom row, the user is null because that user's been deleted, but that user did buy a food bag with a price of $9.99. Okay, so that is how a right join works. It's exactly like a left join. If we go back and look at our diagram here, a left join gets everything in the left table and whatever matches in the right. A left join gets everything in the right table and matches whatever is in the left. Well, now if we want to get all of everything back, we have the cross join. So let's go ahead now and look at the cross join because it's just like the rest of them. We just changed that keyword. So let's do select users dot star comma products dot name comma products dot price, and we'll say from users, and then we're going to cross join on our products table, and we're going to do that on users.id is equal to products dot, I did it again, products.user_id, semicolon, enter. And what happened here? This came back as an inner join, so I did something wrong there. Let's go look at this. Let's see, it looks like it looks like I did it correct. I'm not sure. Cross join orders. Looks like did I spell it wrong? Cross join products. Well, this doesn't look right. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to get back all of my users and all of my products back from users, cross join products on user. I wonder if this is one of those things where, because Examp actually has MariaDB instead of MySQL. Okay, that's why. So the MariaDB database, which is what is actually installed with Examp instead of MySQL, it doesn't have the cross join. So if you're using MySQL, which you most likely will on most servers, cross join will work as we had typed it, but it gets used as an inner join with MariaDB, which is what we have with Examp, because they don't have a cross join. That's one of the things that's missing with MariaDB, apparently. So that's why that didn't work correctly, but just know that a cross join, just like in our here with MySQL, a cross join would get us back all the results set from both tables. Okay, now keep in mind that a cross join can be a very large data set, so be prepared for that. If you have two very large tables, a cross join, you may want to do something to make sure that that result set is minimal. All right, so that is joins. That's how we can join multiple tables together. And look, this join thing is not a very easy thing to teach, and it's not an easy thing to learn. So if you feel like you understand it, then congratulations. If you don't quite understand it yet, I just wanted to start the conversation with joins, because we'll be using joins throughout our projects. And I think you'll understand it more then. But I just want you to kind of see what the joins do, read up on them, try to understand them the best you can. But honestly, a lot of times you don't really learn something until you have a reason to learn them, until you have a use case to understand why you might want to use an inner join versus a left join. And at that point, you'll instantly understand it and you'll get it. But for now, you're just learning. We're not really building websites with this information yet, so don't be too alarmed if you're like, man, I don't understand anything you just talked about in this video. But I would hope that if you had a little bit of experience before with with joins and doing a little bit of database stuff, that this joins video has cleared up some of the questions you may have had about how joins work. And we just showed kind of silly examples, but this is basically how you join tables, and this is what makes relational databases relational. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to start talking about indexes and the different types of indexes that we can do. So I will see you there.